Hey everyone. I recently did a Rise of the Floodborn draft. Managed to go 3-0, and so let's take a look at the draft. Alright, first pack here. Ray's standing out so far. Nothing else too crazy. Oh, hit a Mufasa. Queen is interesting. I don't think it's good enough in limited. You're not going to have enough cards. Snake is interesting. Rapunzel, if you drafted a healing deck, does definitely have potential. But I think Ray and Mufasa are stronger. Ray is definitely the clear pick, but I'm going to take the legend. Why not? So just some background. This was can't remember how many people were here. I want to say maybe 32 or something like that. We did draft in 8-man pods, but then the match was cross-play, so you could play people outside of your pod. All right, so second pack already. Nothing standing out yet. Jafar and Caterpillar. There we go. Last Stand's also quite good. Wait Set and Felicia. I do like Felicia a lot, and that's a foil one, but definitely not as strong as a couple other cards in here. Really like the Caterpillar, really like Last Stand. Jafar is good, but again, not quite to the level of the Caterpillar. And that card definitely straight up won me a game. So we'll cover that later when I go through the exact deck. But love the Caterpillar. Last Stand is arguably there. I mean, removal is very strong, but uh, the power level of Caterpillar is very good. Uh, Somebody else in the draft who also went 3-0 mentioned that they really enjoyed, like the Panic card. Obviously not a high pick, but probably better than I've certainly given it credit for. It's just something that I kind of ignore as an uninkable. But the more I play this format, the more I think, hey, like you're just gonna have to play 5, 6, or maybe even a few more uninkables. I think I changed my mind here and take the Facilier. I don't love taking it this early, um, but it's kind of just you need some answer to evasive. That card is not so much a try to win with evasive card, but it does its job. Ratigan would be the one where you're trying to quest to win. I still haven't really gotten to play with Lawrence yet. I don't know if it's good. It would have been close between the Broom and Lawrence, but the Lucifer there is the clear pick. Very, very strong card. I know a lot of people, including myself, probably underestimated it. But if you compare it to, for example, You Have Forgotten Me, right? Yeah, sure, they could discard an action instead, but most actions that they're being played are really strong unless it's something like an improvise, which they're kind of unlikely to have still in their hand on turn 5. So being able to take 2 cards and still have a body that quests for 2, very, very strong. And turn 5 is also kind of where they're going to have only a couple cards left, so it's also kind of just like the perfect time. Um, uh, One of my friends played my third round opponent in the second round and was hit with, turn 4 Daisy and then turn 5 Daisy quest to discard plus a Lucifer to clear out the hand. It's a pretty brutal, brutal combination there. Um, Not seeing a lot of vanilla cards here. I really like that Jafar. It is a little understated, but even then, I probably still wouldn't want to shift it. I just want to, um, if I can just take out anything. There's plenty of 3/3s and 2/3s out there. I can take something out, draw a card. Even if it trades, I'm still up a card. So just very solid 4-drop there. Uh, the Beast didn't really get to utilize it a lot, but I know that ping is really, really strong. There's a lot of things that it can answer that you're just not going to be able to without a card like that. Very happy to see such a late rabbit. Uh, there's a couple 5/5s for 5, I think, Verana and Winnie the Pooh in that slot versus Rabbit being the lone 4/6. I think I kind of like Rabbit more in most situations because there's a lot of 2/3s out there, right? So you would need 2/3 power creatures to get through Rabbit, whereas the 5/5 can be beaten by a 2 and a 3. But I will say, if they do have the rare Hercules that has the 3 willpower with resist 2, you do want that 5 power. But that shouldn't come up too often. Very happy to get a late improvise there. Perfectly good card. Would not want either of those other 2 there. Right. Launch and Workshop, I'll take the rare. I've played with that Maurice's Workshop and Draft before. I don't think it's quite good enough. Definitely all about board control in those middle turns, and if you play too many items, you are giving up board control. Right. And last pick hold still. Remember, you're allowed 2 cards per pack that are unplayable, so it's fine if it's just the last 1 or 2 cards. Alright, second pack. I think I might overvalue Piglet a little bit. Not that I'm taking it here, but in general. Sorcerer's Spellbook is surprisingly not as good as you'd think in Limited, I think. It's actually just too slow. There's so many things that cost 2 or 3 that quest for 2 that, um, you know, I'm sure there are stalemate situations where it is good, but yeah, this is definitely an interesting choice between the Winnie the Pooh and the Jafar. I think as many people learned, like this card draw in this set is card draw unlimited, right? Or in this game period is very very strong. So the fact that Jafar can draw cards, very very good. Um, and it's not like I think it's an uncommon. Winnie the Pooh is um, an uncommon, or sorry, Winnie the Pooh is an uncommon. Jafar is Winnie the Pooh is a common. Jafar is an uncommon, so more likely to see more cards like that Winnie the Pooh come back. If this were one jump ahead effect where it comes off the top, maybe it'd be good, but since it comes out of your hand, I don't know that I'd have enough cards to make use of Winnie the Pooh. I think I'm just taking. I'd probably take the Fairy Godmother here. Oh, or maybe the bounce. The bounce is very, very strong. I think I regretted this because I think there's a bounce in the next pack. I want probably 1 bounce. I don't think I want 2 bounces. And Fairy Godmother and Jafar are both strong picks there since I already have 2 of the. Again, I don't necessarily want to shift it, but the 3/2 Jafar is a perfectly good card. So just having the option to shift it is good. James is a card that I really came around on. Definitely like that card a lot. Unfortunately, it looks like I got to take the Merlin Rabbit here. uh, a little stronger than the James. Um, but yeah, Merlin Rabbit. Again, card draw. It's great. And James's card advantage in a way, right? Because it turns into the ink, and the fact that it quests for 2, I mean, it's just so much more of a threat than Grammatala, right? It's going to come in and they have to answer it quickly, and that gives you better ramp, right? It looks like there's another rabbit, another beast, buff, and another bounce. So again, I don't think I want that second bounce. I really wish I'd taken probably Fairy Godmother there or the Jafar instead, and then I could take the bounce here. So um, they're definitely better 2/3s than the bound. So kind of looking between these. I think Eli LaBouffe is the weakest of those 3. Checking my curve real quick to see if I already have too many 5s and 4s. Do have a lot of 4s. I think I end up with a lot of 4s and 5s in this deck. So I think I take the beast instead of the rabbit here. Even though I already have 1. Again, that effect is very good. There's Ratigan. There's just a lot of 2/3s and 3/4s running into each other, so that 1 point breaks the parity. Weselton, Jafar. I like the Mulan, but never really took one. So this is just a good chance to take that Jafar. Strictly better than the Minnie Mouse in my deck right now. And then this is a good time to take a Last Stand. Mulan's okay, but I think I'd prefer the Last Stand here. Mulan is not bad. I've had good experiences with it, but it doesn't answer, I guess, nearly as much. Alright, so happy to take a Fidget here. Again, I'm not planning on using it to quest to victory, but it's a perfectly fine card. I think I inked it a lot of the time in favor of better 3-drops. With Fairy Godmother and Doc, there's just a lot of better 3-drops out there. Duke Weselton Rhea. I just do not like that Rhea card. I understand maybe if you have a Rhea to shift into, but even then, I just don't think it's good enough. Mulan, I think is fine. I do like the card, but it's a little slow tempo side. Again, I think there's better 3-drops, of which I already have several, and Duke Weselton is actually great. Did not recognize the strength of that card. Again, it's kind of that you don't want to play it on turn 2. You want to play it on turn 5 and play a 3-drop and a 2-drop, and then figure out the board, see if you can clear out their threats, and then get a lot of questing in. So here's where I could have taken the Minnie Mouse there. Piglet is a card I like a lot. I think mostly because not that many people are playing Naveen and Blue, which would be very good against Piglet. And then, I have the Beast, so I can, ping for that 1 extra damage if I wanted. And the fact that Piglet quests for 2 is very strong. And I got a very late, Fairy Godmother there, I think. One of the best 3/4 drops. I did not realize that the vanilla Yzma 3/4 was a uncommon, so I think that makes Fairy Godmother even better. I mean, it's just a very, very good statted card at that ink cost. Be able to take out 3/3s no problem and survive. Alright, so that's pack 2 done. Eudora is a card that I'm getting lower on. It's good if you're ahead, but even then, it's not that difficult to take out. They just have 2 or 3 characters, like the characters that are going into it are all going to survive. So yes, can be some tempo because it's very strong if you're playing it onto an empty board, because they're not going to have time to really. Actually, it's a weird thing where you play it if they have nothing, like you have to quest before they can attack anyway. So whatever they play in response, basically they can just trade a bunch of stuff into it and they'll all live. But again, it's not bad. It's just not that good. That Elsa I actually really like, but I don't think I had an opportunity to take it. I'd love to take the Goofy there. It'd be great. But, this pack wasn't that strong except for that Cinderella. So Cinderella's clear pick. I would have been taking like a Hercules or something. So glad it might have been that Elsa if not for the Cinderella. So very, very strong card. No complaints there. Now the question is there any way I could shift it? I'm not a fan of the 2-cost Cinderella. Alright, Ray's standing out here right now. There's that Yzma I was talking about, and a super rare Raya, which, again, I don't want to shift into it because I think that the 3 cost is just too bad. So I treat that Raya as I would just play it on 6, and then I went for the easier to play card because I think with Raya you have to put damage on it, and then it's still only a 5/3, so somebody can just crack back and take it out. So I decided to just go with, even though it is foil, I decided to go with the Ray, since I had already passed one up for Mufasa. So perfectly good pick there, I think. Alright. I may have overrated Felicia, but I really like that card, especially considering I end up playing it on turn 1 too often, because I don't really want to play it onto an empty board. I want to make sure that my opponent can't play around it. Minnie Mouse Diver, I think, is just a little too inefficient and limited without actions. It only quests for 1. The Surfer is just better. Right. So yeah, talking about the Cinderella, I think I get to pick a James here finally. Queen of Hearts, I think, is just a little too small. Maybe if I had the 5-quest Queen, which is amazing, did not see one, definitely would take one. I think one of the other 3-0s had 2 of them, and another 3-0 had 1 of them. I mean, it's a very, very strong card. Whereas the other 2 here, I mean, the uninkable one, a lot of people, mistake it with the Beast. For that Queen, the ping damage, it has to be on a damaged character, so not as strong. But yeah, finally get a James. Very happy to have it. Yeah, Popsicle and Nick in the same. I don't know that Nick is good enough unless you're already on like 2 or 3 Popsicles. It's not that it does nothing, but it's not doing that much. The 2/4 body for 4 is awkward. You definitely want a Popsicle in order to play it. Now this could have been like a Minnie Mouse. It could have been anything else. I don't have very many 1-drops. I think the Felicia might have been one of the few in the improvise. So having something I can play on turn 1 is fine. Yeah. Yeah, I would like a Verana here, so Cinderella's showing up, but I just do not value this card. Um, I mean, you can already ink your cards, so unless you have like some high-costed uninkables, Cinderella's not really, there's no value to the discard to me. Merlin Crab is just a very, very strong card. Verana would have been nice there. I think I already have a lot of 5-drops. I probably shouldn't have included the Eudora, because if I had been able to cut the Eudora, I wouldn't have been unhappy about that. More 5-drops coming. I think I really wanted to take this James here, but Doc is also ramp, inkable, just also a very good card. They're both pretty good. So I opted for the stronger 3-drop instead of 4, which, again, I think stacking up on the 3-drop slot makes more sense. Nothing fancy here. I think it's just between The Last Cannon and Legend of the Sword and the Stone, and they kind of do this pretty similar thing. Though I'm not exactly hoping to run either of them, and I think I just decided to hate The Last Cannon to prevent item decks from using it. Definitely people drafting heroes and such. That being said, I do think there is a place for those cards, especially if you don't have a lot of 5-drops and higher. Those cards let you use your 2 and 3-drops to challenge up. Also good against resist cards. And I think there's a lot to be said there, because since there's a lot more 2 and 3-drops that can quest for 2, as just, again, a really late 3/4 for 3, which I still think is very, very good in this format. And, this is just an example of a lot of people, at this draft, at this table, were probably doing their first 4X Rise of the Floodborn draft, so just having one under my belt is a huge advantage, since I've gotten to kind of get a you can read the spoilers, you can read the whole card, you can know the set, but getting a feel for like how the cards are distributed, you kind of have to just draft to do that. But anyways, I think I end up with just 1 6-drop and 1 7-drop, and I just have a lot of other lower drops. And since most of the 5-drops are only questing for 2 anyways, it's not like they're questing more than my 2-drops that quest for 2. So why not just get a lot of smaller cost cards? Don't have to stress about having to get to 6 or 7 ink. This was a pack. Look at that. Foil Yzma, got the Madam Mim, Rival of Merlin, got the Prince John that's worth I think still 10 to 13 bucks. Daisy Duck, which I think is actually the second strongest card in this pack, maybe. I haven't really played with Madam Mim, so I don't know. But yeah, lots of cards in this pack I want, but I think the Yzma has it does feel bad giving your opponent so many cards, but it is such a unique effect. It's very, very important. Definitely won me a game, by keeping somebody off being able to quest um, for the win. So even though they get to draw a bunch of cards, it is such a strong effect. Again, not a card I'm actively looking to shift, but. And then, obviously, if you're ahead, you could always use one of your smaller characters to draw 2. Seems good. Alright, so I'm not a fan of that Merlin at all. Even if you have a lot of bounce, I think it's just not strong enough. King Louis is interesting, but I don't actually want to be, getting up to 7. Cinderella, I feel, is worth it, but King Louis, I don't think so. Popsicle is a good card, but it's not, I think better than any of these others. So Benja, I think, is probably on the weak side. Unless I'm actively unless I know somebody's got crazy item decks, right? And Merlin Crab, I have one, but again, I think getting that Enchantress, getting a 2-drop that can quest, and still trade 1 for 1, very valuable. This was a tough one. I really like Ring the Bell, and I think it's possibly better removal than Teeth and Ambitions. I think I actually only ended up, even though I kept holding the Teeth and Ambitions, I think I only played it maybe once because, it's not like I drafted a bunch of 1/3s. Um, there weren't that many targets for it, but I think, again, it's kind of similar to the Beast, where I believe the card is still good, I believe the effect is still good. It just didn't happen to come up in the games I played. So I think Teeth and Ambitions is fine, but Ring the Bell is a little bit more versatile, I think. Well, I mean, Teeth and Ambitions can hit things that aren't exerted that have no damage, so obviously it's more versatile in that way, but only the 2 damage can't do as much. Let's see. Yeah, happy to take a Benja here. It'll probably be ink most of the time. It's just there in case. Honestly, I'm mostly just scared of Mouse Armor. Maybe a Sorcerer's Spellbook. I don't even know what else I'd really be worried about. Alright, so here's a pick that I think I maybe went an interesting way. So I believe I have maybe 4 or 5 uninkables at this time, and I'd like to be in the 4 to 6 range. So here I am counting real quick. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I think one of those I'm not playing already though. 5, 6, but I'm not playing that one. So I think I'm already at 5, maybe 4, and so again, I just don't like the Cinderella enough. I really like the Pinocchio, but I had some bad experiences where the opponent just doesn't play anything 3 or less after a certain point in the game. So this could be wrong. Like, definitely could still be Pinocchio, but I went ahead and took a second Felicia and called it a day. Yeah, well, I replace it. Trust me, I remember this. So yeah, yeah, that definitely could have been a different pick. So curious to hear your thoughts. Let me know. Let me know what you think. While I do like Tigger more than previously, I don't like him that much. Also, same with Happy. In a non-dwarf deck, a 3/5, the quest for 2 at 5, it's just so much worse than getting Varana or Winnie the Pooh. So, let's see, yeah, kind of just the last few cards here. Just trying to take something that's playable. Hercules is fine. I think I have a bunch of 1/2s, so it's kind of the, well, get a 2/3 on the board and control the board, and then go from there. I'm actually not sure what I take here. I know I have a Broom in my deck, but I can see taking the chip just to have some 1-drop. Don't know if I'm thinking about it or waiting on a pack. I think maybe I already have a Broom, and happy to just have a 1-drop in case I want it. I think this format is still. I do think you can get away with skipping your 1-drop. Another interesting choice. Honestly, any of these cards could go in the deck. I think I take the Ela Boof. Rhea could have been an interesting choice just to be able to control the board better, trade better, considering I don't really have too many 5-power characters. Alright, here I don't think I really want either of these, so it's fine. Alright, we're coming up the end here, so yeah, once we show this last card off, I'll switch over to the deck and go through that and some of my matches real quick. There are a few interesting stories there. So, alright, last pick. Not a playable. Alright, see you in the next part. Alright, so here's the deck. Here's the cards I didn't play. Just, I think, Grumpy basically does nothing with no other doors. You can get this effect for 3. And then, again, I don't have enough actions for this to be worth it. Though I actually end up with, I think, 6 non-characters. We can take a look here. So, 1-drops, a couple Felicias, and a chip. It's actually all my characters. Improvise and Popsicle. Both cyclers. Improvise definitely helped trade up a couple times. 2s. Got the Teeth and Ambitions. 2 Duke Weaseltons. Very good. Towards the end, Last Stand removal. 2 Hercules. They're just fine. Bounce, also a very good tempo card. 1 Jafar, and I really wanted to try out this charge. I think I only played it once, but yeah, does what I thought. You get the challenger, your character lives. Worked really well on Jafar to make sure I draw a card, and it survives. Enchantress is just a solid card. Alright. Yzma, again, I really like the 3/4s, so having these Fairy Godmothers was great. Yeah, having these made me a little bit more likely to draft the 2-drop Cinderella, but it just never came at the right time. Crab, I like this card a lot. Just Challenger 3. You play this on turn 4 or 5 and get something good. Piglet, talked about during the draft. Doc is just a great card. Love it. One of the top 3 drops. If I'm not, playing a 3/4, Doc is probably what I'm going to be playing. Though I didn't have that many high drops, but it still helps, Benja went over. Magic Broom, I still like this card. Again, not as good as Doc, but, maybe comparable to Mulan or something like that. Really good to just let you trade something and instead of trading, let something survive. Caterpillar, so in my last match, cover it a little bit more, but basically I was at 18 lore. Top deck this played this. My opponent had an Honest John and made me lose a lore, but because I had this and not something that quested for 2, I still won the game. Alright, Fidget, talked about that. 2 Jafars, pretty good. 2 Beasts, pretty good. James, happy with that. Rabbit's very good. Facilier LeBouf. My 5s, I probably wish I had a couple more, or at least like maybe instead of the Eudora had a Winnie the Pooh or a Verana, but Rabbit, Ray, Eudora, Lucifer, very strong. Mufasa, this should have been a Ray, right? Funny story with the Mufasa. Let's see, I think I played it twice. One time it just flipped a Duke Weaselton, so perfect, still quested for 2. I mean, it does flip Exerted, so they could challenge it if they had extra characters to challenge with. And then the second time it just flipped a Chip, but even then, that's better than nothing. The Chip was able to challenge the next turn for something. But what was funny with the Duke Weaselton, if it had been 1 card further, it would have flipped Lucifer. Can you imagine having to discard 2 on your own turn? That would be brutal. So that would be a potentially pretty funny play. And then topped off with the Yzma and the Cinderella. So overall, pretty good draft. I think in my first round, I rolled an 11, was excited to go first, and then my opponent also rolled an 11. Then I proceeded to roll Snake Eyes, but then my opponent also rolled Snake Eyes, so then I won the roll on the 3rd time. Round 3 was a tough matchup. The opponent had a very, very good deck. Built around Floodborn cards that, I had not really thought about that strategy, thought about how many Floodborns were available. I don't know how his draft went, but, he had multiple Cruella de Vil Floodborn, which is an uncommon, but is a card that probably goes late. So between Honest John, a few points of lore, that's not a big deal, but there was one late game where he was able to play a Blue Fairy late, and then a Gaston, and then cascade into playing 2 more Floodborns, and then drawing 3 cards off that. So again, if I had the Beast in that situation to get rid of the Blue Fairy, that would have been good, but instead got to just draw a ton of cards and run me over there. But overall, I definitely got a little lucky winning the die roll in round 3 in order to go first, because I barely won games 1 and 3, and he crushed me in game 2 pretty handily. So a lot of it was just these little low-cost quests for high lore. Just I think game 3 I kind of just went, not on purpose, but Facilier into Ray, just quest for a bunch. If you have an answer, you can get it. If not, I'm just gonna quest and and go as quick as I can. So, all right, that was the draft. Unfortunately, I probably won't be able to do any more drafts until the next year. So looking forward to hopefully more set 2 products available to do that, or maybe I'll dip my toe into some more set 1 drafts, or maybe some mixed drafts if those are available. As always, thank you for watching.